Okay, let me bring you up to speed on what I've already done with the spaghetti squash. I actually cut it in half long ways. You can't cut it in half in the middle because usually it'll be too deep of a bowl for you to be able to cook effectively. So cut it in half long ways. Scrape all the seeds out with a spoon. I sprayed olive oil on the flesh of the squash and sprinkled with pepper, and I put a half a cup of water into my bake pan in the bottom of the bake pan and set the squash there in the middle of the pan. I preheated my oven. I had to do this before I stuck the squash in naturally. I preheated the oven to 350 degrees and cooked for 45 minutes. You need to check after 35 minutes to see if the squash has become tender. Now, you won't poke the fork through the squash, not without a lot of force. So, what you're trying to do is just see if it indents and becomes tender. All right, the spaghetti sauce is homemade sauce. I made this myself, and my recipe I used one large tomato and I diced it. I had one 6 ounce can of tomato paste, and I added 6 ounces of water. I chopped one onion as a half an onion if you have a large onion. Uh, one 4 ounce can of sliced mushrooms, 2 tablespoons of Parmesan cheese, 2 to 3 cloves of chopped garlic. I also used a fair amount of garlic sauce, a garlic salt, and then keep the pan covered because if you don't, it'll splatter all over the place. Bring it basically to the temperature of boiling and then let it simmer on low for about 15 minutes. Now I've got the sauce spread out, and you can see it's a good looking sauce. I used mushrooms instead of meat. So if you want to use meat in it also, you can, hamburger or whatever. And I'm going to cover this now with a mixture of provolone and mozzarella cheese. And I want to get a good pile of it on there so that I'll melt it down, and that way I can heat also the spaghetti sauce that I had prepared before I cooked the spaghetti squash. And if I can get it all on there just right, it's picky, and my fingers don't always work as well as I would like for them to, especially when handling cheese. But there we go. That's going to be good enough, I think. Yeah. All right. Now, that was off the cutting board, not off the counter table where everything else is falling. But it's all clean anyway, so I imagine everything would be okay even if it was on the countertop. There's the provolone and mozzarella cheese blend. I'll stick that back in the refrigerator. And I'm going to put this in the microwave, but I'm going to put it in a paper bowl. I don't want to just put it on the microwave as it is because it's going to leak out some probably. So I'll put it on a paper bowl to keep the juice, and I can use the bowl even when I'm heating it in the oven to brown the cheese. So we put it in the microwave, and I set it on about a minute and a half, and that should be long enough time for me to get the cheese melted and the sauce back again. I'll just clean this stuff up right quick and throw it away. Every time I have to go to the garbage, it's difficult, and it shakes the camera because I rub against the foot of this camera stand. But anyway, I'm managed, and I'll just check on that to see how it's doing. I don't want to heat it for too long, just until the cheese is melted pretty good. That way I can take it out and put it in the oven and brown it. So that should be getting close. I think so. When you're watching it, the wait takes so much longer. But I had gotten this idea from a recipe on the internet. That's not going to work. I'm going to have to take the pan out. That's the only way I can do it. It won't fit unless I take the pan out. And that's just the juice from the squash and the water that I put in the pan. And now let's take everything out of the microwave and put it into the oven. Okay, I want to set it up where only the top broil is coming on. I don't need to cook it anymore. It's hot through and through. So I will, put this in the sink as well. And we'll just watch this and keep an eye on it, because if I don't, it'll get browned too much. These are nectarines. I'm always buying different kinds of fruits, and I don't buy but a few pieces at a time because we don't want to waste anything. This is also a plum. This was not as good as the last plums I got from Walmart, but it was still pretty good. It was edible, and I enjoyed it, so I guess it was good. Okay, we want to keep our eyes on this because we do not want it to get too brown. This is probably brown enough, and it is brown enough, and it's hot. Okay. Okay, it's not too hot to set on my counter. It's okay. But there you have it. It's browned, and give us a round of applause. Hope you enjoyed. Shalom.